Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Meet the Candidates event for the Office of Saratoga County Supervisor, representing the City of Saratoga Springs. All candidates on the ballot were invited and are present. This event was organized by the League of Women Voters of Saratoga County. My name is Kathy Kobrick. I am a member of the League of Women Voters of Saratoga County. I live in the town of Malta, and I will be your moderator tonight. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, volunteer political organization dedicated to the informed and responsible participation of citizens in government. The League never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. That has been League policy since 1920. Membership is open to anyone who is eligible to register and vote. Please consider joining your local league. Before we start, I want to remind the candidates and our audience that the recording taken tonight is the property of the League and can only be used by the League or licensed media according to FCC regulations. This event will be posted in its entirety. It may not be used by candidates except to post a link to the complete recording. We do not make this request lightly. We have had recent experiences where candidates or their supporters have used portions of our recording or an audience member's own recording against their opponents. As the League is a nonpartisan organization, use of the recording by one candidate specifically against another candidate is in contradiction to our purpose. Additionally, this behavior would discredit us with candidates, making it difficult for us to sponsor future forums. All candidates participating in this forum have pledged that they will abide by our policy. Questions were sent to us by members of the community. League members reviewed and compiled them to be representative and to avoid redundancy. We rejected any questions of a personal nature. We also received a lot of questions, so we may not have time to get to all of them. Candidates, this is your opportunity to let voters know your stance on these topics and how you will address the issues facing the people you represent. Please don't waste valuable time tearing down or labeling your opponent. Deal with the facts. In your closing statements, absolutely no zingers. In other words, please do not put your opponent on the spot with no chance to reply. We have timers for this evening's event. Cards will be held up for the candidates to glance at. Green means they have 1 minute left, and yellow means they have 30 seconds left, and red means that their time is up. The candidates in alphabetical order by last name are Gordon Boyd, Michele Madigan, and Matt Veitch. Now it is time to hear their 2-minute opening statements. They have drawn lots to determine the order. The first to speak will be Matt Veitch. Matt?
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you to the League for inviting me to this forum, and thank you as well to Michele and Gordon for participating as well. And I want to thank everyone who is here attending this evening, and I appreciate everyone who submitted questions for our debate. It's been an honor and a pleasure having the opportunity to serve as your supervisor for the past 16 years. When I first ran for office, I promised you that I would propose initiatives that would improve our city and county's quality of life and work with our neighboring communities to keep Saratoga County among the lowest tax counties in New York State. Over the past 2 years, I've been able to bring county funding to the city for several projects and causes. $300,000 over 10 years for help in the construction of the 3rd fire station, $34,500 for outdoor dining, $18,000 for Saratoga Shredders for their Bikes in Schools program, $75,000 for new welcome signage for the city, $30,000 for the Preservation Foundation 65 Philo Street renovations, $20,000 for historic signage to commemorate and tell the story of Saratoga's Congress Street neighborhood and the original sites of the African American churches, $25,000 for Frederick Allen Lodge's kitchen rehabilitation, $10,000 for city trail projects, $15,000 for Shelters of Saratoga, $15,000 for the Saratoga Springs Senior Center, support for the COVID Relief Fund, which $340,200 went to Saratoga Springs not-for-profits. I am proud to represent Saratoga Springs and Saratoga County on committees of both the state and national county associations. I've been engaged with our community, serving on several different boards and committees around the city throughout my time as county supervisor. My plans are to continue to do the things that enhance our quality of life in this fast-growing city and county, working not just on the big projects, but making sure our county departments that help those most in need, such as mental health, public health, social services, continue to receive the support from the Board of Supervisors to make sure the county is meeting the needs of all of our residents. I've done my best to serve the residents of the city honorably, with integrity and honesty, and with openness and responsiveness to your needs. And I will continue to do the same if reelected again as your supervisor for another term. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And now it's time to hear from Gordon Boyd.
Thank you, Kathy, and I thank the League of Women Voters for organizing and hosting this forum. My name is Gordon Boyd, and I am running with the endorsement of both the Democratic and Working Families parties. I've lived in Saratoga Springs for more than 50 years. During that time, I've watched our city and county grow from a seasonal tourist and college town surrounded by rural communities into a vibrant year-round hub of commerce, high-tech manufacturing, and suburban areas filled with commuters. Unfortunately, Saratoga County government has not entirely adapted to these changes. The board's undemocratic committee structure gives residents of small towns 5, 10, and 20 times the clout of the people who live in the larger communities like ours. So it should come as no surprise that there is no Saratoga Springs supervisor on the one committee that controls policy on horse racing and casinos. The Republican leadership on the board wants to milk Saratoga Springs for tax revenue. We provide nearly 20% of the county's total, but not give us a say-so in county policy. There is no committee on transportation, where we could start dealing with the interstate truck traffic rumbling through our residential streets and downtown business district. Why is there no committee on small business, the backbone of our economy and the producers of so many jobs? Last March, I proposed that the county adopt a drunk with guns law. My initiative was met with radio silence from the board. Fortunately, the City Council has passed a prohibition on being drunk while carrying a firearm, and I will continue to pursue this at the county level if I am elected. We are the only county in the Capital Region without a reentry program for people coming home from incarceration. The state would pay for it, it would save us money, and it would keep us all safer. I also have proposals on public transportation, housing, and emergency planning, which I will discuss in detail as we proceed with this forum. Other details are on my website at boydforsupervisor.com. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. Now we'll hear from Michele.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting the Supervisor Candidate Forum this evening. I look forward to a spirited discussion with my fellow candidates for Supervisor, Matt Veitch and Gordon Boyd. And thank you to everyone who is listening in from home. As Saratoga Springs residents may know, I served as your City Finance Commissioner from 2012 to 2021. I'm now running for Supervisor because I believe that with my experience and expertise, I can best represent all Saratogians at the county level. Together, we can shape a safer, stronger, and more compassionate Saratoga Springs. First, it is crucial to build a better relationship between Saratoga County and the City of Saratoga Springs. Cooperation and communication between these entities are essential for effective governance of our community. Second, I would like to stress the importance of bringing together the city and county to tackle one of the most important and challenging issues affecting our most vulnerable population, the homeless. Homelessness is a reality that affects individuals and families right here in our community, and it is our collective responsibility to extend a helping hand and provide support to those in need. To this date, we need county involvement, and to this date, no one on the current City Council has reached out to the county in an effort to not duplicate services such as mental health services and duplicate funding those services. So taxpayers, I'm still looking out for you. Last, I would like to advocate for the implementation of a policy or law, because this needs to be done at the county level, to revamp our closing times for the sake of safety, economic vitality, and the city's reputation as a safe, year-round, vibrant destination for visitors and citizens alike. While our city boasts a lively nightlife, it is essential to prioritize the well-being of our community. This measure will not only enhance the public safety, but also contribute to the overall quality of life in our city. Together, we can all make a difference. I humbly ask for your vote on November 7th on either the Democrat or One Saratoga ballot lines. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Michele. Now it is time for questions. Candidates have up to 1.5 minutes to respond to questions. You are not required to respond. You may pass if you wish. You have 2 opportunities during the question and answer session to request an additional minute to either add to your response or to respond to something another candidate has said. Just hold up your hand and I will acknowledge your request. The timers and I will keep track of the number of extra minutes that are used. Questions will be alternately directed to candidates so that each one gets a chance to go first. And by the drawing we had, Matt, you're going to receive the first question. And here it is. How does the current Board of Supervisors make decisions on policy? And how would your presence on the board change or enhance that process? What approach would you take to ensure that differing views are heard and incorporated into policy?
So I would say the first part of that question is that the County Board of Supervisors uses a committee structure to basically develop policy. So we have, I'll probably get the number wrong, but we have several different standing committees that range from everything from economic development to social programs to public safety and other things like that. So essentially each supervisor gets assigned 3 or 4 committees every year to represent their community on those committees. Saratoga Springs has 2 supervisors, so we get a little extra representation on those committees, having 2 supervisors. You know, the process probably could be a little more open, I would say, based on the second part of that question. Our committee meetings usually do not have public comment, and that would probably be something I would welcome. Really, the best way to get your viewpoints across and to help us shape policy is to reach out to the Board of Supervisors. We do have public comment at every single board meeting, as well as you can reach the clerk of the board at any time. I believe we have an email public comment at SaratogaCountyNY.gov on our website, and you can just contact us through that. So we can hear the views of the residents and try to develop policy based on that.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Gordon, it's your turn.
Yeah, I think this raises a very important issue about the structure of the committees. Saratoga Springs has about 30,000 people. Our 2 supervisors hold 6 committee positions on the standing committees. Actually, one of our supervisors only has 1. Matt has 5 for last count. There's another 30,000 people in the county that are represented by 9 supervisors who hold 28 positions on the standing committees out of a total of 64. And that's Hadley, Day, Edinburgh, Providence, Galway, Charlton, Mechanicville, Northumberland, and the town of Saratoga. So the representation on the committees very much favors the towns with less population. It really disenfranchises Saratoga Springs, which is what I was getting at earlier about there being nobody on the committee that controls racing policy. So I think that some structural reform is absolutely imperative to provide actual democratic, small d, representation on the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Gordon. Michelle, it's your turn.
Do you mind repeating the question again? Because I believe it was, how do they make policy, right?
Yes, well, yes. How does the current Board of Supervisors make decisions on policy, and how would your presence on the board change or enhance that process? What approach would you take to ensure that differing views are heard and incorporated into policy?
Okay, so Matt answered the question very well in terms of telling us how they make policy. There are a number of committees. That's where policy begins. Standing committees, as we've also called them. There is one on racing and gaming, and there is one on public safety, and there are social services and health. And so the various supervisors get together in these committees and try to make policy. And if the policy does make it through the committee, it will then be forwarded to the actual entire Board of Supervisors, potentially for a vote on it. I am hoping, again, what I keep reiterating is that we need a better relationship with the county. The city does not have a good relationship right now with the county. I am convinced that I can help bridge a positive relationship at the county level, and ensure that I'm sitting on some of those committees, developing policy, and then bringing them forward to the board to vote on. Matt's right. There's not a lot of transparency at the committee level, but the goal is to work well at that committee level so that you are bringing it forward for the public to understand what kind of policy you're developing for a potential vote at the board level at their meetings, which also take place twice a month, I believe, on Tuesday before the actual city council meetings that the city holds. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Gordon, this question is going to go to you first. What is your position on Saratoga County helping out with the migrant crisis in New York State? Some would say that the county has largely ignored the calls for help from Governor Hochul.
Well, actually, what the chairman of the county board did back in, I think it was May, is he issued an emergency order prohibiting any hotel or other accommodation from doing business with New York City. I'm not aware of any time that a full hotel was considered an emergency in Saratoga County, but that was the emergency that the chairman of the board was apparently concerned about. There was, in fact, no emergency under the definition that's in the New York State Executive Law, Section 20, Article 26, which was the article that gave the chair his authority on this. And you have to have a catastrophe, rioting, or disaster. And all this was a MAGA press release that was dressed up as an emergency order. I think they should have allowed people in business to do business if they chose to, and not do business if they didn't choose to. But there was no reason to have a countywide emergency. The order also placed a cloud over the arrival of the backstretch community to serve the racing industry here, because most of those workers are, in fact, migrants. They come here on visas from other countries to work in the racing business, and they are ethnically indistinguishable from the kind of migrants that the order was directed against. So it cast a cloud over their arrival as well. It was racially discriminatory, and it was bogus. It was unnecessary. We need to have an open door for dealing with migrants and allow them to accommodate if people want to. Thank you.
Matt, it's your turn. No, it's Michelle's turn. I'm sorry. Very
it was-
sorry. Messed up.
Yeah. So this is a tragic situation. We have a lot of immigrants flooding into New York City. We have the state of Texas sending immigrants to New York City, the state of New York, the city of New York, and it's a tough issue to grapple with. Because you got to make sure you have the proper infrastructure to support immigrants that might come up here to Saratoga County or any other county in the state. And it is my impression that our Board of Supervisors has indeed tried to reach out and work with the city to say, maybe each county can take up to 10,000 immigrants. Or let's put a number on it so that we make sure we have the services to meet the needs of our existing population, but also the immigrants that might be coming up to Saratoga County. Now, I'm not currently on the Board of Supervisors. I don't know where that stands right now in terms of negotiations that may be ongoing between the county chairs and New York City and our governor. But I think that is an appropriate way to handle this situation. Of course, we all care about these immigrants that are flooding into the city, but you can't just put them on a bus and send them up here and expect us to have the proper infrastructure to care for them. We need to have a number, have a limit, and be able to bring them up here and ensure they're getting the services that they deserve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Matt, it's your turn now.
Thank you. So first off, I just want to be clear on this issue. As a member of the Board of Supervisors, executive orders are just that. They're executive orders, and they're issued by the executive officer of the county. So while I am not the chair of the board, I am on the Board of Supervisors, I did not issue the order from Saratoga County. That was done by our chair, Supervisor Kuzniers from the town of Monroe. But I would say in somewhat the same vein as Michelle, one of the things that's really a tragedy in this is that and in our society today is that we don't work well with each other. We have a lot of issues when it comes to trying to communicate. So what the problem here is that without any warning, the city essentially, said that they were going to potentially send folks to our communities. Not just Saratoga County, but most of the upstate counties in New York issued executive orders similar to ours. So without doing the hard work of trying to negotiate with each other and make a deal, there's a thing called an intermunicipal agreement. We have many of them. We didn't do that here. It was essentially, we're going to send you busloads of folks. We don't know if you have the capacity to handle them. And you do not have a choice in trying to work with us on that. And unfortunately, that's been the problem with this entire issue. The governor's not talking to the mayor. The mayor's not talking to the president. It's an issue on many, many, many different levels. It's a national problem, and we need to be able to work together to solve them. Instead of just back and forth, not knowing what's going on. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. All right. This question is going to go to Michele first. The City Council has recently requested that the county change closing times for the bars in Saratoga Springs to 2 p.m. The County Board of Supervisors has not done so. What are your thoughts on this? And what would you do to facilitate any change at the county level?
That is one of my top priorities if elected as supervisor. And I have many ideas about how we can go about accomplishing this. I sat on the city council for many years and we sent resolutions asking the Board of Supervisors to please change our bar closing time. You cannot do this at this point in time without the support of the County Board of Supervisors. So my goal, again, is to get along well with all my colleagues at the County Board of Supervisors and sit down individually with each and every one of them, because I want to understand what it is that they're concerned about in terms of maybe passing this law so that we can close our bars earlier. It's not a good look for the city of Saratoga Springs. Our downtown nightlife, it can be exciting, but I agree with most. After 2 o'clock, nothing really good is happening. So I want to meet with each supervisor. I want to understand their concerns, and I want to negotiate with them or maybe put their concerns at ease. I want to report back to the city council what each and every supervisor has said to me, what their concerns might be, and try to address the issues that they might have so that we can all come together and pass a local ordinance to close the bars earlier in the city of Saratoga Springs. I think that would be good for our public safety. Our public safety department wants it. It's unruly downtown. And I feel hopeful that if we negotiate in the right manner, we can make this happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michele. Matt?
Thank you. So this has been an ongoing issue that I've been kind of around for many, many years. And the city has had a desire to close bars earlier downtown for our nightlife. And, at first, I certainly did not feel that was something that was something that would create a lot of benefit for the city. While closing the bars early is a good idea, I don't think it solves some of the public safety problems in the way that I think the city would want to solve them. But over time, I think I've changed a little bit on this. I think I am open and willing to discuss this at the county level to try to figure out a solution for the city of Saratoga Springs. Many counties have differing rules for bar closing times. What I don't want to do is I don't want to just kind of say 2 a.m. is the answer, right? I think there may be a way to maybe help our businesses, maybe stay open a little bit later during our summertime when it's beneficial for them, but close earlier at other times of the year to make it a little bit, to shut our city down a little bit earlier, right? And so I think at the end of the day, that may be one of the solutions that's out there that I would propose for next year. And again, I think I'm open to suggestions when it comes to that. I have looked at the state website. Most counties have different bar closing times than 2 a.m. or than 4 a.m. They close at different times, various places, but some stay open late on New Year's Eve. Some stay late open on different days. Depends on the county. So if the state liquor authority is flexible, I think there's an avenue here to potentially having some sort of an ordinance that closes our bars early. And remember, it is the state liquor authority that makes that decision, not necessarily the county. We only recommend potential bar closing times to the state.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, Gordon, it's your turn.
Well, I think it's important to have good relations between levels of municipal government because they're all serving the same taxpayers. But this is one where the county has really ignored and shunted aside the interests of the city, which have been clearly expressed over and over. And obviously the representation that we've had over the last number of years has not really responded to the clear request from the city. And again, I think it goes back to the structural deficiencies of the board, that we don't have representation in the committee structure. The board really wants to milk Saratoga Springs for the money that they can get out of it, but they don't want to listen to us when we have a public safety issue like drunks with guns or bar closings, and they just sort of leave us on the side of the road. So I think it's really time for structural reform at the board, and we need more aggressive representation, especially on an issue like this.
Okay, thank you, Gordon.
How do we use our,
Red card?
Yes,
Okay.
I would like to use one.
Members, do you have a minute for Michelle? Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
So this is a really important issue, but just saying the structural component of the way the County Board of Supervisors exists today, it's not going to change that issue. We have to be able to go down there and work with our colleagues. It is a majority Republican board right now. I believe it's 21 Republicans, 2 Democrats. I'm a Democrat. If I'm elected, maybe I'm replacing one of the Democrats. So it's very likely that there's still going to be 23 Republicans and 2 Democrats. And they have shown no indication that the current board, that they want to restructure their form of government. So we have to work with what we have. And that means going down there and meeting them, understanding their issues, trying to alleviate their concerns so that we can work toward a policy that will work well for the city on this issue and many others, particularly the bar closing times. I've sat on the city council where I watched the commissioner of public safety just, not even contact the county about this. But thought we could make it happen. We can't do this without the county. So we need to form a good relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, now we're back to Matt for this question. Now that the county is eligible to receive community development grants, would you support Saratoga receiving them? And please explain your position.
Yeah, so I think the question is saying that the county is eligible to become I forget what the name of the word is, entitlement county for the community development block grants. Currently, the city of Saratoga Springs is an entitlement city for community development block grants, and the county has reached a population threshold where we can now become an entitlement county. This is very similar, I think, to the prior question. There are towns that do not see this as a benefit to their town. And so we did try a few years ago to get this to happen, and we were just a few thousand votes short in population to get it done. And it failed based on the fact that there are certain rules within the CDBG, and I won't get into those, that create, some problems for some towns. But at the end of the day, it's the same kind of problem. We need to convince the towns that it's in their best interest to become an entitlement county and get them to vote based on their population that is good for them. We did try a second time to do this at the County Board of Supervisors, and it did not even get off the ground. So the first time we made some headway, the second time it was even less so. So I think it's not going to happen in the short term, but I support becoming an entitlement county. I think it's something that we should be doing. There is a difference between $300,000 coming to the city and about $2 million coming to the county if we do this. So to me, I think it makes a lot of sense to become an entitlement county and do that and go forward. So whether or not it comes up in the next years, I don't know, but I'm willing to work on that as we go forward.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Gordon, same question to you.
I served on the city's community development block grant advisory committee, so I know how important this funding is and the kinds of good projects that get funded. I absolutely support the entitlement, qualification going to the county, because I believe that most of the problems that we have in Saratoga Springs, especially as we affect people of lower income and people in need, are really countywide problems that happen to get sucked into the vortex of Saratoga Springs, like the homeless, like seniors and nutrition programs and all of the services that groups like Shelters of Saratoga and Rise and others perform. So I would look forward to seeing the county do this. But again, the decision-making process sounds like, from what Matt is saying, is running into the same roadblocks that we get with other issues that affect Saratoga Springs, and that is that the smaller towns really don't care what happens here as long as it's not costing them any money. And they actually benefit from the money that we send to the county, but that doesn't seem to be a reciprocal relationship. And I hope to address that if I'm elected on November 7th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. Michele?
So community development block grants were once a major source of revenue for the city. I mean, at one point, I want to say the city was receiving $3 million. And over the years, that money has been greatly reduced down to $300,000. So it's just not a lot of money. And these are funds that we use to support our nonprofits, whether it's for some bricks and mortars, possibly even some operating funds. And I remember a couple of years ago when we were working on hoping that the county would want to become one of the entitlement counties, because it would go from $300,000 for the city of Saratoga Springs to, as Matt said, almost $2 million. This would be something I would absolutely support, but I agree, this is something that we need to further discuss with all the town supervisors. Again, we have to work with them. We have to understand their concerns and their issues. We need to educate them potentially as we learn more about what these programs might be able to do. Smaller communities, and hopefully we can make some progress and ensure that Saratoga County becomes an entitlement county. It's a lot more money that could come in to help support all our various nonprofits. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Gordon, you would like to use your red card?
Yeah, I'll use it now unless Matt wants to go first.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Gordon.
did you have your hand up first? I didn't
Yes.
see. I missed that.
I don't know. I think I did, but that's all right. Yeah.
Okay,
I
go
think-
ahead, Gordon.
I think one of the real components of Saratoga County that I think is focused in Saratoga Springs, but it's really a bigger problem, and that's what CDBG money goes to, is a lot of housing needs and the resources that people require who are in more affordable housing components. We are still, I think, one of the number 1 or number 2 counties in the state with mobile home parks, and the number of folks who live in the mobile homes in Greenfield and Milton and other towns. These are, like a couple of paychecks away from real housing crisis, and the parks are being bought up by hedge funds and private equity, and they're raising the rents, and it's making it more difficult for people to afford to live there. But that's the kind of thing that creates a problem in the county that gets focused in Saratoga Springs when we get concerned about the homeless. So I think it's really important that we create a more equitable form of representation at the Board of Supervisors so that our voice can be heard. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Matt, you want to use your red card?
Yes. Thank you. So, yeah, it's along the lines of what was said before. So, a lot of the CDBG money goes to not-for-profits, right, to help with our community. And one of the issues, again, we live in a city where rents are high, property values are high, and what it's actually doing is pushing some of those not-for-profits out of the city. And so one of the issues with CDBG is that now these organizations, we give them the money from the city, they can only spend it on the residents from the city. Their organization may be located in the town of Malta, for let's say, and they serve residents throughout the county. But at the end of the day, they're only able to use the funding for the residents in the city. So that was another reason why I think we tried to do this a few years ago, is that, even the organizations themselves are moving outside of the city to serve county residents. And maybe that message did not get across to the Board of Supervisors, but if we bring this up again, I think that's something we should certainly bring forward in this discussion about that. Just quickly, there's also a local CDBG that happens, and that's one of the sticking points as well. Towns can get a lot of money one shot, but if they're in the entitlement county, they can't. So we can bring that up as we go forward.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next question, and it goes to you, Gordon, and I think you're going to like this one. Is there a standing committee on transportation? Many of our residents don't have cars, and many would want to use their cars less. How can we get better public and alternative transportation in Saratoga Springs and Saratoga County?
I think setting up a transportation committee would give the board an opportunity to look at the regional effects of our transportation patterns in Saratoga County. We get a lot of interstate truck traffic that gets off the thruway at Fultonville, comes into Saratoga on Route 29, up West Avenue, down through Church and Van Dam streets to get out to Interstate 87. We have Global Foundries creating traffic. We have Grandy Industrial that has a lot of trucks going out and that then have to circumnavigate the state park in order to get to the Northway. These are not city problems. These are county problems. We got trucks on Broadway. These are issues that really need to be addressed on a multi-municipal basis. And so I would hope that a transportation committee to focus on that would be set up. I also have a proposal on better utilization of education for transportation education money so that we could expand the services of CDTA. We're now short of bus drivers. Kids are having to be picked up from school by parents in carpools in the afternoon. And there is a way to get CDTA more involved as it is in Montgomery County, but it needs the county to push CDTA in order to do that. So these are, with the bus transportation and the truck traffic, I think there's really a crying need for a transportation committee at the county level.
Okay, thank you very much, Gordon. Michele?
Well, I'm all for expanding and improving public transportation. I think it would serve our taxpayers, our residents well. I believe the majority of our population here in the city of Saratoga Springs actually resides, lives, and works. Well, of course, they reside here, but they work in the county. So that really does lend one to think that there would be a benefit to having, in-county transit, a better in-county transit system. So I would certainly support a transportation committee. It seems like it would be warranted. It's at least something that should be looked at and evaluated throughout, the entire county. Transportation is important, as is housing. Transportation and housing go together, sort of. So I would support a transportation committee. Truck traffic is a problem. It comes right through downtown Broadway. It would be nice to be able to work a little more closely with our neighbors in Wilton to maybe divert some of that truck traffic off Broadway. It's loud. Motorcycles and trucks, it is loud. It's noise pollution. You cannot hear yourself speak. We all want to sit outside and eat dinner, and our tourists come here and residents from throughout the county, and I'm sure they've all experienced that truck traffic on Broadway. So these are all things that we could certainly look at with a transportation committee at the county level. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michele. Matt?
Yeah, so the first question was, is there a transportation committee at the county? And the question is no for particularly transportation. I would say that there are two committees that probably deal with the issue. The first would be economic development, and the second would probably be public works. Again, they're not directly tied to the issues that I think the other candidates spoke about, like truck traffic and those kinds of things. That's really, again, I think goes back to relationship building. I think one of the issues with truck traffic in Saratoga Springs is we need the State Department of DOT to help us out. I don't think the truck routes that they've planned through our community are maybe the best routes. I do think our neighboring towns need to also work with us. The town of Wilton is one where we send trucks in one direction through their town, the other direction they don't go through their town. It's something we tried to get the town to agree with us on some time ago. And in that case, the town board did not support us on that. It wasn't even the county supervisor at that moment that did that. So, I'm in favor of maybe a special committee that would study transportation. Not sure if I would propose a standing committee on transportation. But I think if we all can convince our colleagues that it's a issue in the county that we should look at, that, the chair of the board has the authority to appoint special committees at any time on any issue. And I think that the chair of the board may be open to that potentially, as growth occurs in the town of Moreau, where he is from, among other towns in Saratoga County. So that may be something we could work on next year.
Okay, thank you. This question is going to go to Michele first. What disasters does the county need to prepare for? And how can citizens be more involved in the process?
Well, there's any number of disasters the county and even the city should be prepared for. Truck accidents. Trucks are, to me, almost like trains, the size of them as they go, through our community down 87, or even, as we were just talking, the truck that goes through the city and throughout the county. You never know when you're going to have a truck accident, and sometimes you don't know what's going to be in that truck. So being prepared for some sort of hazardous waste spill, whether it's from a truck or a train, is important. We know we have trains that come right through the city and through the county and on their way down to further downstate that do carry hazardous waste materials. And we've seen what can happen when a train is derailed when there's a hazardous situation like that. We've seen pretty much whole communities die. I want to say out in Ohio. It was very, very bad. And these are things we need to be concerned about. So I would say that I'm sure the county is prepared for, to be able to clean up a hazardous situation. That's part of emergency management. We have our own emergency management. I know our firefighters are always training to deal with these types of situations. And I would assume the county has a very similar infrastructure. And I would be supportive of making sure that was well funded and that we continue to ensure the safety of our citizens throughout the county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michele. Matt?
Thanks. So the county has the Office of Emergency Management, which is underneath the Sheriff's Department. They are essentially the county's coordinator for any emergency that may occur within the county. We do prepare for basically anything to happen, whether it's large fires, train derailments, airplane issues. We have an airport in Saratoga County where we could potentially have airplane crashes, which one did happen recently. Issues with hazardous materials going through our county. One of the things that we do have in the county is a hazmat team, which is actually run out of the Saratoga Springs Fire Department. They are the county's hazmat response team. And the reason that we have them is that they're the 24/7 department in Saratoga County. So if a hazardous spill happens or there's a hazardous issue, our department can essentially get there fastest. Because we're always on here in Saratoga Springs. And again, they're going to be housing that hazmat truck at the new fire station here in Saratoga near exit 14, which is one of the easiest ways to get north and south in this county. So I think it's a very good benefit that we have that here. But at the end of the day, our emergency management team at Saratoga County is always planning for the next disaster. When we have a hazardous response plan, which includes the city of Saratoga Springs for issues that happens here in the city. And I think it's something that we do actually quite well in Saratoga County, always being ready for the next thing to happen. And you have to be in today's day and age.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Gordon?
This is an issue that I worked on directly when I worked for the state legislature many years ago. And I drafted and had passed the state's first law requiring communities with nuclear facilities to have radiological preparedness plans. And that's one. Saratoga County happens to be one such community because of West Milton. So radiological preparedness is something that we need to be ready for. And we also need to be aware of what is coming through the community on CP rail. There's a lot of freight traffic on the west side, hundreds of cars every day traveling through the west side of Saratoga Springs and up past Maple Avenue School in many cases. The key to good emergency planning is that you have a plan, you keep it up to date, and you rehearse it. It needs to be drilled on an annual basis. And if I'm elected supervisor, I would really like to pay some close attention to this. I did inquire about the city's emergency plan, which has to be integrated with the county plan. I inquired about it several weeks ago. And the commissioner told me that when he opened it up, when he took office last year, Mayor Yepsen was listed as the contact in the mayor's office. So I think there's some deficiencies there that the county needs to collaborate with the city, make sure their emergency plans are integrated, up to date, that the contact people are up to date and known, and that you have a good plan and can rehearse it and make it effective. Thank you.
Thank you. Michele, you'd like to use your red card?
Yeah, I would, only
Hold on
because.
one second. Kathy,
sorry.
are you ready? Okay, go ahead.
I'm just going to respond to what Gordon said about our emergency management plan. I know we updated and revised our emergency management plan, and we worked on it long and hard as a result of COVID. So I'm not sure which commissioner gave you whatever version you received of our emergency management plan, but I can assure you, especially under Marilyn Rivers, when she was there as the head of our risk and safety, and it's sad that she's not there anymore. We have an emergency management plan that was completely updated because we were dealing with a massive public health crisis, which was an emergency. So I'm sure Mayor Yepsen is no longer listed as the contact. I just know, I remember reading it. I remember going over it. I remember being presented in executive sessions and council meetings. I just want to make sure people know that we have an updated emergency management plan. I'm sure of it. Now, it probably should be looked at again because it's been 2 years and people come and go. So make sure you do tax down for sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. All right, we're going to move on to another question. And Matt, you're going to get this question first. In discussions of our unhoused population, it frequently comes up that health services are provided through the county, not the city. Yet county officials seem to be critical of Saratoga Springs for its homeless population problem. What is the solution? How could the county provide services for the homeless in the county?
Yeah, so as far as that question, I'm not sure where the county has been critical of homeless services in Saratoga County. Saratoga County runs the Code Blue program, so I don't believe that Saratoga County is critical of housing the homeless or trying to help with homeless where they can. Now, Code Blue is a state mandated program, and the county has to execute it, and I can understand where that may be an issue. We do what the state requires us to do in the Code Blue program, but for at least 6 months of the year, that Saratoga County is managing the homeless problem, I will say, through the Code Blue program in Saratoga Springs. I know that in this summer that there was a new shelter that was open, and I think that that was a great idea, and it was wonderful that they got that done. But Saratoga County is not required to help with that at this point. It goes back to communication. I think there was not enough communication from the city to the county in announcing this program and in opening that in that shelter. I think if we go forward with a new permanent shelter, I think there's certainly some opportunity for the county to help out both with construction as well as potentially partnering with the city and having that Code Blue program at the new shelter. So, that would be my desire, because the county has the same problem where they can't find a Code Blue location. It changes every year. So we wind up having to not have a permanent location even for what we do in the city as a county board. But I would certainly work toward that. I've certainly said it many times that if there is a shelter that is a site that is found, the county would help to construct it. I do chair the Buildings and Grounds Committee, so I would have something to say about that if we got that far.
Thank you. Okay, Gordon.
The care of people who are indigent, homeless, and in need of public support for their lives is a county responsibility under the state constitution. I think a lot of members of the public have been confused about whether or not the city is doing everything that it could to provide for the homeless. And technically, it's not a city responsibility under the Constitution. It's a county responsibility. I was very encouraged when the city was looking at using the William Street location to see Supervisor Barrett from Clifton Park attend the announcement event there. And I thought that was a great step forward, because I feel that the county has been sort of up in the bleachers watching the game here and not really playing as active a role. Yes, they process the money for Code Blue. Yes, they have a lot to do with the people that are served by RISE and AIM and other folks like that. But I think a more proactive role needs to be adopted. There's a general housing problem that is not just about the street homeless. There's a workforce housing problem. There are other problems. I think we need to have a more flexible zoning approach so that more units of housing could be built in the towns and in the city. And I would be also advocating for that as well to try to ease the housing crunch that we're experiencing with our workforce.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. Michele?
This is like one of the issues I really want to work on if I'm elected supervisor. To my knowledge, Saratoga County has not been critical of the homeless. They support Code Blue. I know we've already said that. That funding passes down from a state mandate. Now we do have another shelter that RISE has been running, and the City of Saratoga Springs has added a new expense to their budget of $300,000 to RISE. There's also the homeless court that RISE and former Mayor Meg Kelly and Judge Francine Bureau run, which is really a cutting edge program, a program I think other communities, counties will look at. But again, this really does go back to that relationship building. You know, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, really no one from the city has reached out to the county to discuss the services that the county might offer at the city level without duplicating all of those services, like mental health services and, you know, housing and job and, you know, services that they might have for, you know, the poor and poverty stricken. So again, let's build those relationships. Let's talk to the right people at the county. I am sure the county, if approached properly and correctly and in a timely manner, I'm sure, just like I said, we can't solve homelessness unless we all come together to do something about it to make for a stronger community. So, you know, we need to build those relationships. We need to work closely with the county. Yeah, I know it says stop. So just support our homeless. Thanks.
Thanks. Gordon's going to use his last red card, and then Matt is going to use his. So first, timer, are you ready? Okay, Gordon, go ahead.
I didn't want to imply that the county administration has not been responsible. I think the Board of Supervisors has been a little bit less than proactive. I've been an active member of the Saratoga Coalition to End Homelessness, working with the 20 or 30 agencies that are part of that. I've worked with them for several years. So, and I've also participated and volunteered for the annual PIT count, the point in time count, when we actually take a census of the unhoused people in the third week of January every winter. And so I'm familiar with the data. I know about the size of the problem we're confronting. It's not an unsolvable problem. We're talking about, you know, people in the numbers of people in the low hundreds that are really in a state of crisis with their housing. We have the resources, we have the wealth here to do something about it. And I think it is, I think maybe all three of us agree that the city and the county need to really figure out what their proper role is in this and roll up their sleeves and execute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. Matt, your last red card. Timer, are you ready? Okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say a couple of things. So one of the things that if you open a homeless shelter, there is a process that has to be followed through the state. And this was brought up while they were talking about the William Street location. Somebody from I think the school had reached out, and there is a process that you go through that requires the county's Department of Social Services to be involved in it in order for a municipality or not-for-profit or any agency to receive funding for that project. So, you know, we were really hoping that the city would reach out to the county to try to get that process going, but instead they went ahead and did the William Street shelter, funded it, but didn't go through that process of working with the county to get that return funding. It's kind of like that, you know, per bed, you get a certain amount of money back from the state for running a social services approved shelter. So I'm hoping if they do this next year that the conversation starts earlier and that the county can be involved in that process. I think it was all kind of done very quickly and the county was kind of left out of that discussion at the end of the day. And I'm hoping that we can bring ourselves together going forward.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, this is going to be our last question before we go to closing statements. How can the County Board of Supervisors improve transparency? How will you communicate with the citizens of Saratoga Springs about what is happening at the county level? Would you advocate holding meetings at the Board of Supervisors and its committee at a time that it is more convenient for the public to attend, or using Zoom or live stream feeds? And this question is going to go to Gordon first.
Transparency, finding out what's going on. I think the board does a decent job of making its meetings available on remote video links and that sort of thing. I've seen a few, and they do a pretty good job with that. I think the time of day of the meetings is a problem that, again, this Board of Supervisors is really not set up to solve, because they have to have them in the afternoon so that the town boards can have their supervisors in place in the evening meetings. So some of them have meetings Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. And of course, if the county board met at the same time, the supervisor couldn't be in two places at the same time. So again, not to beat a dead horse here, but you got a structural problem here with how many towns are we catering to in order to have a county government. And if there was a county body that was a legislative body and you still had the town government, you could have the county meet at night when it chose. And that would allow more people who have day jobs to enter into the dialogue and get to those meetings. I think the county actually does a decent job making its information available on its website. I think the job of the supervisor is really to make sure that what the county is doing to and for the city is being communicated to the people in the community. And I think there are a lot of ways to do that, in addition to what has become the every twice a month ritual of showing up at the city council meetings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. Next is Michele.
Thank you. This question is about transparency at the county level. I apologize. All right.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, so 23 supervisors. I've seen a lot happen in my 10 years because I do listen to the supervisors' agenda items, and I know that Supervisor Veitch, who currently sits there now, has really put a lot of effort into IT at the county. And I think that has shown with his colleagues. Meetings are recorded. The website is excellent. I think the county is about as transparent as it can get. Yes, there are issues with if a policy or something doesn't make it out of the committee, maybe you don't get to hear about everything in terms of how the full board might deliberate, right? Only portions of the board sit on the various committees. So there might be something to look at there, maybe minutes, maybe recordings. That would help improve transparency at the county level. But our county supervisors come to city council meetings regularly and give us an update as to what's happened over, the prior 2 weeks, month, et cetera, when they're out visiting with the New York State Association of Counties. The other thing I will do personally is I will hold office hours regularly so that if people want to come and talk to me about an issue they may have and the county can help out, I will make sure that my office hours are publicized and people will know how to reach me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michele. Matt, it's your turn.
Yeah, so this is a great issue, a great question. And one of the things that's happened over my time as a supervisor is exactly that. We've become far more transparent as a county than we were when I started. We have really worked on our IT. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars actually at the county to put all of our meetings online, to have live streaming, to use closed captioning, to make it accessible for people as much as we can for our meetings. Every single meeting now is recorded. Committee meetings and the board meeting are recorded on a Zoom. The minutes are published, and we have all of that on our website. So, 5 years ago, that was not happening. So, at the end of the day, I think it's something that, I've pushed for as a supervisor. We need to do better when it comes to transparency with what we're doing at the county. We do more press releases now. We do a little bit more in terms of letting residents know what's going on in the county. And that has also been helpful, I think, for the county. It's not so much of they don't say anything until they say something. And I think it's much better now with what we're doing. But putting all those meetings online and doing all of that has been a goal of mine since we started. We did rewrite our rules of the board back in 2021. And part of that was to improve even the way that the public can comment at our meetings. It was basically there was no public comment. You had to call the county a week in advance in order to speak at a meeting. Now you can just show up at a board meeting. You do have to still sign up on the sign up sheet. But you know, that's just way better than it was even 5 years ago when it comes to Saratoga County. We do have no issue with the public coming to our meeting unannounced.
Thank you. Okay, now it is time for closing statements. Candidates, you have no more than 1 minute each. And Matt, you're going to start.
Okay, well, I want to just say again, thank you to the league for inviting me to this forum, and thank you to Gordon and Michele for participating. And I'm glad that I've had an opportunity to answer some questions and talk about the issues that matters to voters of our city. I am so happy that I've had the opportunity to represent our city at the county level. There have been many accomplishments over the years, and I've gained experience and attained positions of leadership through my experience and work serving you as your supervisor. I will continue to approach this job the same way I always have. I will be responsive to constituent needs. I will act with honesty and integrity. I will be respectful of my colleagues as well as to members of the public, and I will effectively address issues and concerns as they come up. We still have much to do. The issues of homelessness, growth and development, housing affordability, public safety are some of the challenges we continue to face as a community. I believe that the best way to succeed is to tackle problems in a bipartisan way and work together in a positive manner. My hope is that we, as your leaders, can all focus on the same goals for our city's future and serve with a sense of purpose, cooperation, and civility. The residents of our cities deserve nothing less. I ask again for your support to have the honor of continuing to serve the residents of Saratoga Springs at the county level. I ask for your vote again this year, either through early voting, which begins on Saturday, October 28th, or on Election Day, November 7th. Thank you.
Gordon, thank you, Matt.
I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, and thanking Michele and Matt for their participation as well. I think it's been a healthy discussion. Saratoga County, in my opinion, has outgrown the Board of Supervisors. Major reform is necessary in order to address chronic problems like housing affordability, interstate truck traffic, public transportation, and the equitable treatment of residents and taxpayers in the larger towns of the county. And I'm not just talking about Saratoga Springs here, I'm talking about Malta, Clifton Park, Half Moon, Wilton, and Moreau. All residents of the county should have an equal voice in county government, but the board's rules make that impossible today. I'm running against the complacency that has observed these facts for 10 years or more and done nothing to correct the problem. If elected, I will get to work on introducing democracy to the Board of Supervisors so that everyone's voice can be heard and we can get results we need from county government. But in order to do that, I will need your vote on November the 7th, and I hope to have it. More details about my positions are at boydforsupervisor.com. And I'd like to thank the League again for this opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. Michele, you get the last word.
I want to thank the League as well for hosting this forum. Thank you to Gordon and to Matt for being here. It was a very good discussion. What we need at the county Board of Supervisors are people that can form relationships, and I can form that relationship. So I hope that I'm elected. What we need is not to tear down what we have right now. You know, by attacking even the form of government or the way policy is handled through standing committees. This is what we have at the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors, and we need to build relationships with open communication so that we can make sure the city gets its fair share. We need problem solvers, not problem makers. The county is an essential part to the issues that we need to address here in the city: our homelessness, poverty, mental health, our public safety. So with that, I humbly ask you again for your vote, whether it's through early election or on November 7th. I'm on the Democratic line and on the One Saratoga line. And I thank you all for tuning in. And for those of you who might be watching this on video, and again, to the League of Women Voters. Good night.
Well, thank you all. Don't forget to vote. Early voting starts Saturday, October 28th and runs to Sunday, November 5th. You can find your early voting site and hours by calling the Board of Elections of Saratoga County. Election Day is Tuesday, November 7th, and the polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. I want to thank all the candidates for attending this event and for giving honest and frank answers to the questions that were asked. And I want to thank the public for submitting questions And for all of the viewers who have taken time to watch this video and learn about the candidates, good evening and good luck. Thank you all. Bye-bye.